me, but you can't talk. I don't know. I don't think I can put a picture there because that microphone at the bottom next to the chat box needs to be pressed in and it needs to have.
Okay, I'm just started the recording. We're not going to have a lot of time, and part of what we want to do is get over to spend some time at Lisa's island, because her challenge comes around her use of her island. And we've got a number of people to talk, and when the first one starts talking, we'll start here. I was going to move you to a more conference room setting, but I think we're going to wind up going to Lisa's place anyway. So if you don't mind, we'll just start here. The kind of ground rules, because I want everyone to get a chance to talk, is I'm going to time you about 7 minutes or so to talk about your work, the challenge area that you see, and solicit advice from the group here. You've all looked at some research. You've all hopefully had a chance to get a basic idea of what each other's doing. But since we've got 6 people and 60 minutes, if you take about 7 minutes talking about your work, and I'd ask if you folks would type in the chat too while everybody's speaking, and that way we can get some more feedback even if you don't have time to state something. So if you want to make a comment or you have a question, and also if you wouldn't mind again typing in your email. Okay, here comes Denise. Okay, that means we're all here. Type in your email that you're willing to share. I have to leave quite exactly in an hour. I will be encouraging you to stay on though. So if you can stay on, we'll be at Lisa's Island in a little bit. And then, please do continue to talk to each other. But what I'd like you to do for now is maybe, since Lindsay's been sitting there and taking good listening notes, and I think her mic's working, Lindsay, would you start a quick review of your project? Also, talk about the areas that you're finding challenging. I'll try to time you in about 6 minutes. I'll give you the 1-minute warning, and then you'll have a time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. Type in the text chat, ideas, suggestions, and Arlene, do me one favor. See if you can take your mic now and see if your mic works. And can you speak? And that would mean turning on for all of you. That's the checkbox on the bottom. And okay, so Arlene, I think, is going to have to type, but she can hear us. So I will, when Lindsay's speaking, I'm going to send Arlene the manual again so that she can check out a few other things. And okay, so Lindsay, I'm going to turn my mic off and tell us about your work and your challenge and areas you might want some consultation from the group on.
Okay, so I am working on implementing augmented reality books into our preschool classrooms. A lot of the research I found has been really beneficial. It talks about how students can learn a variety of topics through augmented reality books or any augmented reality applications on an iPad. 2 of the studies I found, one was related to vocabulary acquisition and another was in a science course. And what they did is they split up 2 classrooms, and they found that one classroom that used traditional styles, and they also used another classroom that did augmented reality learning. They found that the class that had augmented reality actually outperformed on different assessments those that relied on traditional methods only. So it's been largely beneficial as far as, the impact that augmented reality can have in the classroom. But one of the challenges that a few of my research kind of articles have mentioned is resistance to change. So in my experience, it's not the students that are resisting the technology change, it's actually the teachers and the instructors. that are sort of resilient to implement the technology. And I think a lot of that comes from their own sort of, oh, that looks a little bit complicated, and they don't want to just sort of dive in and see what happens. So I always encourage teachers to say, hey, I'm going to leave this with you, test out the iPad, let me know what your thoughts are. Here's some basic navigations. It's the best way to sort of test and just go for it and try it out and let me know what you think. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to sort of say, you can do this in your classroom. You don't need me there to, assist you. The first time around, I'll be gladly to help. But you can do this for sure. So I did actually show the book to my supervisor and a few of the senior teachers. It's what we called sort of more experienced teachers in the preschool. And they loved it. They were really excited about it. They have varying degrees of, sort of backgrounds with technology. One loves technology. The other is not so thrilled with it, but she absolutely loved the book idea. So they look like they definitely want to move forward and keep getting more books as they come out. But I'm still trying to work to sort of get them comfortable in that realm of things. And also the learning approaches that I'm going with are Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, which I think is really important in the preschool realm because students don't really know what their learning styles are. So you might as well provide them with every single learning style and see sort of what their strengths are. So sort of help them further because it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach. It's kind of, we're going to give you every opportunity to show your skills. So that's one thing that I'm leaning towards, and I know the teachers are already comfortable with the theory of multiple intelligences was another reason that I'm going with that. And I also like the case-based learning idea too, kind of the idea showing that, this is the situation, let's talk about, let's brainstorm, let's draw solutions to this case. So it's been really fun, really interesting so far. The reactions from the staff so far have been really cool. They showed just as much excitement as I did until I say, okay, here you go, you try it. And then they say, well, I'm not sure. And I was like, just try it, we'll get through it together. You can learn it, test it before you have your students. So it's been good so far. It's going well.
Actually, we have a moment or two before we go on to the next person. So anybody want to make an audio comment or question of Lindsay?
Hi, it's Lisa. For the folks who seem, the folks who are hesitant, but now they're kind of playing around, what is the feedback you're getting now?
A lot say that, oh, well, I didn't think it was, this easy because when I first showed it to them, they're really just looking at the picture on the iPad. So they thought that I was controlling something to make that happen, other than just holding up the iPad camera. So they're like, wait, we thought you were doing that. What did you do different? And I said, nothing. I'm using the app. I'm using the camera on the iPad. So just holding it over the book. And they were surprised that it wasn't as difficult as what they thought it would be.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm excited for you. Yay.
Thanks.
Yeah, and, I want to see if I get books like that for my grandchildren. It sounds wonderful. So I think we're all going to be learning from Lindsay's application, and a number of you have said you've all had the same challenge, though, with getting peers and faculty to come in. And so what I'm going to do, I just tried to send Lisa something, but I have a bum email address, so I have to send it again. So thank you very much. Anyone want to type anything in the chat for Lindsay while we're waiting? Once Arlene gets back and we're settled, then I'm going to think about if we can move over to Lisa's island. But in the meantime, let's still hang out here. So Lindsay, that's good. And I don't suppose, have you been able to try it with the children yet? Or you mostly?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Actually, I was supposed to have this week, but I've been out for a couple days, still trying to shake strep that turned into a cold. So it was supposed to have been this week because I showed the teachers last week. So there is one teacher she's been teaching, I think, for 20 something years, and she wants to try it first in her classroom so she can also help me help other teachers. So she's excited about it. I'm really excited about it because I'll get to stay in the classroom with her and see what the kids think.
This.
Oh, that sounds great. And actually, Denise had a good comment, and actually I'd like to throw the mic over to Denise next because she's also in the K-12 classroom, middle school, but she's the teacher of record there. So Denise, why don't you tell us about your work? And I'm a science teacher myself, so I always enjoy hearing what Denise has to say. So Denise, it's your go. And in the meantime, I'm going to try my email again to send something to Arlene.
I think I got it. Did you hear me?
Yep, we could hear you. I could hear you anyway.
Okay, I tried a different machine, so.
You might have just turned your mic off, though, because I could hear you for a minute and then I can't. So
Yeah, now I can.
there you are.
Okay. Yay!
It's all yours, Denise. Give us your setup and your challenge that you'd like us to understand. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can't hear you. Arlene, though, I think you are coming in the back. I could see the waves coming out of your head, so I think you're working. Denise, what you want to do is the microphone icons in from the left bottom. Be sure the check mark is turned on, and then you toggle the microphone on and off. And when it's on, it's kind of darkened.
Oh, wait, maybe this is off?
No, it was just on then. And you should see the green waves coming out of your head.
Let me see. Okay, good. I think you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. I'm so sorry for that. You know, I'm kind of new at this whole virtual meetings like this, so I apologize for making these mistakes every time. Please forgive me. But let me tell you a little bit about what I'm going to be doing with the students. I think I've already explained that I'm going to be using the technology device, basically scientific data collection probes with my 7th graders. And the educational philosophy that I'm going to be going with is Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, just like Lindsay did, because it is so visual and it's kinesthetic and tactile, which will work great for these handheld probes. What I loved about the assignment last week was the opportunity to be able to go back and get some research so that I don't make mistakes when I'm using it with the students. And one of the things that the underlying message of many of the articles that I read was that as a teacher and as the students, time needs to be invested into learning how to use the devices well and designing lessons that will work well for these students with these devices, because if you don't put the time in, you're not going to be successful. Kind of like time well spent, you know, that's what I keep thinking. So basically, I'm choosing to use lessons that have already been created by the Probeware company. I'm going to be using a company called Vernier. I think I'm pronouncing it properly. That's what they have at my high school, and that will be what I'm borrowing from my lesson. And so they have a whole variety of lessons already prepared, tried and true on their website. And what I did was I went and looked through that, and I found some that seemed to tie in perfectly with the types of labs and the types of lessons that I teach during the first half of this school year when I teach about the human body. So I'm going to be doing that. They also said in the research that some units will lend themselves to more success with Probeware than other units will. So they said that physics types of lessons would be better but that life science lessons could work well. And that's one of the reasons why I'm going with lessons that are life science themed, but already tried and true through them. They did suggest that I take the probes out and let the students, I don't want to say play with them, but sort of explore and use them and hold them in their hands and get to try them before the day that I'm really doing the lab that's going to matter, that it's going to be the day they're collecting the data and doing the experiment, because that time that I allow them to become comfortable with it, again, will be time well spent. So I found it to be a great opportunity doing the research so that I can have some better plans for how I'm going to make this be successful. I really wanted to work with the children, and so hopefully I'll be able to be successful.
Yeah, any comments, questions from the group?
I've been reading some of the comments. Thank you, guys. I'm reading all of them. That's great. What does it look like? The one that I want to start with, it's a heart rate monitor, and it looks like, I hate to use the word nunchucks, but if you know what I mean, as far as like martial arts, it basically looks like two wands that you would hold in your hands. They connect with a wire, and basically it's going to connect, you hold it in a certain direction, it connects wirelessly to a device that's picking up your heart rate, and it's going to put it right onto a device where you'll get graphing of your data immediately, be able to start right into data analysis. It looks really cool.
Has anybody been using it at the school? I think you said some of the departments have had them. Have they used them?
They have. The physics department at the high school has used them, and they are so, the labs that they're doing are so up and over the age level of the 7th graders that I work with, that I'm really trying something completely different from what they did. So I'm excited to be doing that.
And I think...
Are your students excited?
Yeah, they are. I mentioned it to them. I showed them the pictures the other day. They are. They actually are. They said,
awesome.
They said, bring them in, we'll teach you how to use it. And that's probably the truth. But I said, no, I want to learn it myself, and I want to be able to use it with you. I'm hoping to do it in another week or two with them, at least that first lab, and I'll report back to you guys, let you know how it goes.
And
thank you.
Yeah, and just tell them too about the next generation science standards before we go on to someone else, because they really work well with those.
Yes. So in K-12, we were waiting to get new standards for a while, and the Next Generation Science Standard, sometimes they abbreviated NGSS, is going to be a national science standard across the board for our whole country. And some of the states are modifying just slightly what the national standards are. New York is actually modifying it, but it's only a slight modification. But one of the standards that we need to hit is to be able to interpret and analyze data from an experiment. So it's not so much as it used to be, let's just collect the data, write it down, and then move on. They really want the students, to, even in 7th grade, to be able to look at that data and interpret what exactly it is that they're seeing, and then be able to write another experiment to take it one step further, based on what we found. What should we do now to push it a little bit further? And so I think that by using technology like these probes, I'm going to be able to do that with the kids.
And I think if you get a chance to look at Denise's video, she did the best sales pitch for the National Science Standards, and she really did a good job. I want that to go forward, and it's something we've been trying in higher ed to get people to do for a long time, this inquiry approach. So, you really have to see it's something you want done in your K-12 schools. So Denise will be leading the way, and I'm so glad she was adventuresome. Now, Arlene, and thank you. Remember, too, I'm going to try to capture the chat box later and kind of distribute everyone's emails. But I'm hoping this is going to become a community and that you'll be keeping up with each other and doing a lot of different learning from one another and from some of the common elements. Now, I'm going to try to get to Arlene here, and I'll ask Lisa in the meantime. She's better at this than I. She has an island, and I think, Lisa, if you put into the chat box the address of the island, that the Slural, will we be able to copy and paste that and move over, or do you need to kind of direct us through the map to get to your island. I'm not, you're better at,
Yeah, you can, you'll be able to copy and paste it. If you copy and paste it and then you go to the gray bar at the top of your screen, click and then paste it there and just press enter, you should go right there.
okay, would everybody like to try hopping over to Lisa's island now, or you want to do another go around here before we leave? Are you ready for the adventure now? And we'll sit and continue to talk. Lisa, will you bring us to your nice fire pit area? Or where do you want us to?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to bring you to.
She's got a nice setup where,
I call it my casual meeting location.
okay. Lisa wants some help. Okay. I think you all see the address in the bottom. If you copy that and then paste it on the top of this application, you're still within Kitely. There's a bar at the top. If you paste it up there, and then I guess hit enter, hopefully you'll get over there. Let me see. If the link went by too quickly, I don't think you can just click on the link. I don't think that will bring you there. What you have to do is open that nearby chat, Kate, and I'm copying and pasting it from there. I want to wait and make sure everybody gets there. But if you copy...
Yeah, I copied from the back.
You copied from the back?
Like if you highlight it from the back of it and go to the front, I find that's probably an easier way.
Okay. And I'll stay here, Lisa, and get people over there one way or another. And I'll make sure everybody can find it.
All right, we'll see you there. And remember, it's Microknowledge Learning Emporium, so they could always just type that.
Okay. Okay, it seems like... Now, Tamara and Denise, were you able to do that? Were you able to catch the link that Lisa sent? And you would select the link by selecting over it, clicking to copy or Control C, and then pasting it up in the top.
I was able to copy it. It's not recognizing.
You're saying it's not recognizing it? Okay, we'll go over a different way. There are two ways to go. Okay, it seems like Denise got there. I'll come over. I feel like I'm shouting across to you. Sorry. There. It's funny. Click on the map icon on the bottom right. It looks like a folded up map. And when that opens, it says Marion Island. Type in Microknowledge. I think it's one word.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if you click find, yeah, that brings you to, and that opens up her island. And if you see the green dots in the top right,
I see 'em.
that's where everybody is.
Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and head there now.
So I'll just wait to make sure you get there. So it looks like we got here.
Yeah, I think Lindsay's here. I was going to say, I think Arlene left and is coming back. I think her microphone wasn't working again.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's get to some of the others because I'm thinking, Lisa, maybe you'll want to walk people around with the last group. What a nice setup this is. And Lisa has some challenges for everyone there. But Kate, can you take the mic and talk about your work with, I think you're working on Twine. You've got a couple of some of you are working with pieces of projects in different courses, so remind us which piece you're working on here, Kate.
Sure. I have been researching online storytelling for quite some time now. And I found a lot of research on online storytelling specifically, but not Twine specifically. So there are a lot of different programs that have online storytelling, but a lot of the research, I found one or two articles that specifically talked about Twine. So it's been pretty difficult to find research. So if anyone, I've only really been using the Empire State College library. So if anyone uses other scholarly libraries, that would be helpful to know. Like I've tried Google Scholar in the past, but that's about it. That's all I really know of. So if anyone knows of any other ones, you can type it in and that would be helpful. But because I wasn't finding much research, I kind of completely changed my idea of what I wanted to do because I wanted to find a good amount of research on what I was going to be talking about. So I did a little searching online and I discovered this thing called Slowmation. And I thought it would be a great way to incorporate another, more multimedia, make my project more multimedia and somehow incorporate that with the Twine storytelling. So I'll just explain what that is really quick. Slowmation is basically a process of, there are five, it's called the 5R process. So there are 5 different representations that students are required to do, or modalities. The first one is called background, and it's kind of just text and diagrams of the information that they're going to need to know. So for example, a student could keep, if the topic was something science related, maybe the growth of a bean, they can keep a diary of the bean and just show how it grows through the diagram and text. Then representation 2 would be creating a storyboard where students show the stages that they observed for their diary through a storyboard. Then representation 3 would be modeling the what they've discovered through some kind of 2D or 3D model. So in the example that I was researching, they used Play-Doh, but you can use any kind of material like string, aluminum, anything you can think of. So I just really thought the Play-Doh was cool because it would kind of introduce this the art aspect of STEM, and I really liked that. And then representation 4 would be the photographs stage, where students actually take photographs, and that would lead up to representation 5, and which is the animation, where the teacher would take all the photographs and download them and put them into this, it's like claymation. If you've ever seen a claymation movie, it would be like a slow motion video of their photographs. And so that would be the 5, sorry, I clicked myself off. So that would be the 5R representation strategy. So I was focusing on inquiry, the inquiry approach, which I can still incorporate, but I think I moved more towards this process of Slowmation with the 5 R's, leading up to the students being able to take what they've already made from Slowmation and put it into a Twine story in a collaborative way. And that's pretty much where I'm at. And I found a lot of research about Slowmation, but if anyone does know of other websites that I can use to find research, that would be helpful. Does anyone have any
It sounds
questions?
really cool.
Thanks.
Well, and I think you're getting universal support for the concept of using those pictures, and I think we've all been intrigued by those claymation. I think the issue, though, you may find direct research on a technology, but generally what you're going to have to do is think about the learning process, because we get more and more tools. We get video, we get, ways to save and store and capture and report the materials, but it still always comes back to the learning event. And it sounds like you're saying that there's a challenge of what tool, and is there research on the tool, but you need to maybe back up and look at the learning. So is the learning issue that you're seeing is getting them to really conceive of what is a story? Is that the real challenge? Whether they use Twine, which kind of networks, or whether they use Slowmation, where's the challenge in terms of the learning how to express themselves in a literary way? What's the challenge you see there as a teacher?
I don't really see a challenge in that, because normally, from my experience, students love, especially in the elementary stages, they love talking about what they like and their interest, and bringing that into their learning. So it would just be, the main challenge would be to not throw everything at them at once, and to break it down in a segmented way, just to simplify it, because although they have technology experience with different devices like smartphones and things like that, they might not have used, Twine specifically, so you don't want to bombard anyone. But I think the 5R representation process would do a good job of breaking it down, and then kind of easing them into creating a more interesting story. So maybe taking a science concept, and then once done with the Slowmation, students can kind of modify their story and bring in some of their interests, and maybe make it a little bit more of a game, or a little bit more exciting, and then put that through Twine.
Okay, so I think you're seeing ways that different technologies can help chunk up that, quote, cognitive load, that big piece of learning you want them to do. And you want them to,
Right.
To take this thought in their head and kind of spread it out somewhat sequentially to be a good, well-constructed story. So both of these tools can help you. So we'll be watching to see how that emerges. And Tamara, I think we'll get you to fill us in now. Hopefully Arlene can come in. I keep on trying to text her to say, worst case, she will, text us what's going on with her. She seems to be able to hear, but just not speak. But Tamara, right? How about you filling us in? We're all excited about the 360 video as well.
Hi everybody. I think in this class I was looking at the simulators. So I'm a little behind in this class. I have to admit, it's been kind of crazy the last couple of weeks. But a couple of weeks ago, I went to a conference in Bulgaria, and at this conference we were discussing all the different training aspects of the maritime industry amongst international universities all around the world. And one of the major things that everybody was talking about was simulators, something that I personally am extremely interested in, and I use just about every single day in my own classroom. And one of the big things that everybody was talking about was, yeah, simulators are awesome. They give us all of these opportunities. It allows you to do things you never would in the real world. But the big thing was there really isn't any pedagogical theories or analysis on how you actually implement it into the classroom. So everybody pretty much has been using these simulators for quite a long time, but they really haven't had much direction in exactly how to use them, especially in regards to assessment. So we've been assessing people on these simulators, but really it doesn't have an established, this is how you do it. So that's something that I'd really like to look into, is what should we really do? What kind of guidelines can we give to instructors to ensure that the simulators are being used effectively and appropriately, because it allows for all these amazing opportunities, but if it's not used right, it can easily become more of a game simulation. And although you can learn really well through games, it can be counterproductive in this type of environment. So I really want to look into that to kind of establish those guidelines and those theories behind the training aspect. So that's really what I'm looking for here.
Yeah, and I've been to a couple of presentations myself about how the military is using some of these simulations, and we certainly know aviation has used them. Lindsay's recommending case-based learning. Lindsay, explain that a little bit too. I keep on getting it when you tell me, but then I kind of lose it. How do you think case-based might help Tamara with her trying to get the students to take the simulation seriously?
Yeah, so Tamara, I'm sort of a person that loves stories. So if you say, Lindsay, if you are on a ship and you are driving along at 70 miles per hour and you have to decide if you're going to turn, so many knots, I'm sorry, don't know the exact measurements, I would respond to that better than, well, in this situation, you should do this. I want to be sort of put in the situation and say, what do you do? But I think your whole, I saw that 360 video that you initially posted that I think was used for a different military. So I think case-based learning in this would sort of be, you're presenting your students before they get in the simulation. Hey guys, you are in control of, this vessel, and you have to make a number of choices, and sort of, you can talk more about your case, and sort of get them thinking like, well, what would I do? And then you put them in the simulation to see sort of in simulated real time, would they actually, do the things that they thought that would be the best fit? Because it's a little different, having the time to brainstorm and analyze what you would do in that situation, but actually simulating the simulation might be a bit different. So that's what I think might be helpful.
I think that's actually a really good suggestion, and to be honest, it's what we kind of do as much as we can. When I take them into the simulator, first I teach them how to use the equipment, and then I'll set up kind of a case-based simulation where they can navigate through it, and I allow them to do all the decisions on their own, and if they make a mistake, I'll stop the simulation, explain what they could have done better, and then I kind of pull them back a little bit and have them replay through that. So I was never really told to do that. That was kind of the big thing. It was kind of one of those natural, it's just an idea I had, I just kind of did it, and most teachers tended to do that also. So I kind of want to establish why that's a good training method. I'll definitely look into case-based learning. I've never heard it called that before, but that might help give me some of the literature I need to help establish that theory behind it. So thank you. I think that'll actually help quite a bit.
I was going to mention.
There's an article.
Go ahead. Were you going to finish, Lindsay? There was an article. Okay. I was just going to mention case-based learning is definitely the way to go with that. But I was also thinking, I know you have a simulator, and I must have missed your 360 video. Was that you just posted it for this week? Last week?
I posted it in the advanced design seminar class.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm taking those both at the same time, and
okay.
My projects are actually pretty similar, so.
Yeah, no problem. I was thinking though, what a perfect project for simulation, virtual worlds. If you could have the world simulate, or even for you, an augmented reality, like virtual reality, VR glasses even.
So when I went to the conference, VR glasses with a simulator is something that a couple of companies are actually working on right now. One of the simulator companies that were there had one that we could use, and it was very, very, very cool. It was for firefighting.
Yeah.
And the only downfall of it was it's still pretty new in its development, and you could definitely get VR sickness from it very quickly.
Yeah.
But it was actually quite impressive, and definitely something we should look into.
If you had all the money in the world, right?
Exactly.
Well, and I think you said they were very interested in a lot of these new 3D augmented ways of working. They've used certain simulators on the boats, ships, vessels, whatever for a while, but that now they're really getting more immersed in it because it's very expensive to teach and it's very expensive to have mistakes. So I think you had mentioned even a group in UK is interested in even just what we're doing now, some of these kind of meetings. You know, they're bringing in people from around the world. Oh, great. Arlene's coming in just as I was about to be worried she couldn't make it. So Arlene, I hope she can hear us. Arlene, I don't know if you can, she's making a grand entrance, if she can hear us, but if try your mic, and if not, maybe just text us about what you're doing, and then we'll conclude with Lisa posing her problem within her actual environment. So Arlene, I think you're looking at video and that type of visual learning. Tell us what your challenge is, what you're seeing from the research and experience, and what areas you'd like some help from the group on.
Trying to talk. Okay, yay, we have a voice. The challenges I have are technological right now. So what I'm doing is, one of the things that I have a lot of difficulty with is cognitive processing of extraneous cognitive load, which is the amount of information that's coming in. And a good example of this is, like, if I'm trying to do research, if I look at a research paper, it looks all jumbled to me. There's words swimming all over the page and little goldfish are going by. But if I have somebody read what's there and then tell me what the conversation is about, and that we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to talk about this, it kind of loads this vocabulary into my brain where I look at it and all of a sudden I can see the whole thing and I can tell you what it says. So it's that type of processing. And what I'm working on now, it seems really easy. I'm trying to put animations within a live video. Like if you have a speaker on a screen and then you have drawings around them that happen and things. And I'm finding that that what's out there, there's like After Effects and things which are fairly expensive, and I'm trying to look for some alternative, lesser expensive to that. But the main function of what I'm doing is I'm just trying to give someone who doesn't understand this process an overview of what happens. So it would start with like step one, you film a video, then you import that video into a video editing software, and then you draw your animations, and then you put the animations into the video at each step in the editing software. So it's just a little tutorial, just kind of like understanding the process the same way of loading that vocabulary of words into when I'm trying to read something. So I'm in the beginning. I found that finding the software is just kind of overwhelming. There's a ton of software out there, but they don't really do what I'm looking to do. They have ones that make animated characters, but that doesn't overlay over the top of a live video. There's like Screencast-O-Matic, and again, you're kind of like in the background in a box. So trying to find these tools has been an extraneous cognitive load to begin with. So that's where I am. I've found a couple of tools, and I'm going to put together a little tutorial of how the process works. I can't hear anybody else. Is anybody else talking?
No, I'm waiting for people to chime in, and thank you, Arlene.
Okay.
So Arlene, I was going to ask, so I know you said is it to take away some of the cognitive, like some of the extraneous load? So you have a
Yes.
video. So can you give me an example?
Okay, so for example, like when I was going out and looking at the instructions on how you do this process, everything, they have screenshots and they have lots of text and things, and I can't process what's trying to go on to say, oh, this is the first thing you do, this is the next thing you do, this is the next thing you do. So there's three types of cognitive load. There's intrinsic, which is what you already know. There's germane, which is what you've learned and you're able to apply. And then there's extraneous. And extraneous is the extra information that if you have too much of an extraneous load, the intrinsic and the germane can't work because the brain can only process so much at one time. So by reducing that extraneous cognitive load, you let what the person already knows know, and what they're learning that they are actually incorporating come forth to be able to use that. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these tutorials on how do you make one of these videos and turning it into more of a visual thing of here's step one and here, just an easy step one is what you do. Here's step two that you do, rather than the whole text base of here's the software you're going to use and you're going to go into this and do this editing and this. And it's so much information. I can't even fathom where you start on it. So my designs that I'm working on are for someone like myself who has difficulty with processing that amount of information coming at them all at one time.
And honestly, I think that applies to all of us. Yeah. There's so much information today, and it comes in so many ways. We don't sit there in a classroom with somebody just feeding us one thing at a time. So that's just my observation. I think, Lisa, you were saying something too?
Yeah, I was just going to add, so you're taking existing videos and adding these animations to them so that who's ever looking at them can see the visuals, so they don't have to process exactly what's being said or completely what's being said. It helps take some of that load off.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. In other words, my final project for school is I'm doing a training on Google AdWords grants for a small nonprofit of what are the processes that they're going to need to do to actually make this happen. And the easiest way for me to present that information, I've presented the information face to face over a lot of years. So moving to a video, I use my hands to make gestures and things that help them to understand that. So I want them to be I want it to be that sort of speaking, but I don't want it to just be that talking head. So right. Like if I'm talking about, explaining how the cloud works, that, it would show a building that has, all of these computers in it, that this is the Google building and there's computers here and they have hard drives in there just the same way you have a hard drive in your computer. So when you're talking about the cloud, it's not this Ethernet thing out there. There's it's a physical space where you go. And so when you go access your Gmail or your Google Drive, you're accessing it off of that hard drive there versus the hard drive in your computer. And so I use my hands to say the Google building over here. And so in the drawings, I'm looking to draw the Google building over here
right.
And just kind of enhance it so it's not just a talking head, speaking at them.
Oh, great. Sounds good. Thank you for clarifying. I apologize.
Oh, it's been an experience.
And I think you've got a number of people in the audience that were texting you saying too that they feel your approach would help them and their colleagues. There is really an information overload that we all deal with today. So I think there'd be, and I think we're all waiting to get this, what I call proof of concept, so that we can get the big funding to do it really the elegant way. In the meantime, we use the basic, simple, emerging technology tools with the idea that someday we'll get someone to be that really good 3D animator or really come in and give us a high-quality video. In the meantime, we use Screencast-O-Matic. But, I think we work through those principles of learning. They're really some basic fundamental principles that almost anything comes down to. And then you develop the sequencing, the curriculum, and the assessments to see if it's working. And, the pieces aren't that different. The tools change, but the basic learning process still is kind of the same.
And that's really what I teach, is that basic concept of what are you trying to do here?
Yeah. Going back to that's that other backwards planning. Where are you trying to get them? And then given that end goal, what do you need to do to get them there? And those become all of the videos, they become the face-to-face, all these things we're creating that can be sequenced so many ways. So today we just have tremendous creativity and reach available to us, but we still come back to we're human beings trying to learn, and we can get overloaded many different ways. So thank you, Arlene. And as I keep on encouraging you, please do keep up with one another. But we'll conclude with Lisa, who brought us to this lovely island to show you that there are all sorts of ways to make islands. And she's got a challenge, and she's going to challenge you to help her. And so, Lisa, the rest is yours. And please do stay on. I have to close out my thing at 8:30. I have a publication going out.
Are you there? I can't hear you. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure if Dr. O'Connor's mic went out. Okay, so I'll just start. So you are on my island. Welcome. This is Microknowledge Learning Emporium, and my goal for this particular session, this class, and it's something I've been looking at for a while, and I'll explain that in a moment, is to kind of figure out a way that corporate America could use virtual islands or immersive environments. It's not a new thing. It's not like I'm the first one to ever think of it. In my research, I'm looking through who has been using virtual or immersive environments. Now, certainly we can look at all different options, in talking with Tamara. What she's trying to do is a simulation. That could be in an immersive environment as well. But what I want to do is see how corporations can use it, kind of like what we're using it for now. For example, as a meeting. I know that, and I've said this before, I find it so much more exciting, engaging to have a meeting the way we're having a meeting right here. I'm actually looking out at all of you. I can see you. I know it's not the real you, but it's still pretty exciting, and I'm engaged as opposed to just kind of doing my own thing and not being around anybody and so forth. So if you have, in a corporation, if you have a lot of, we do look cool, if you have a lot of remote workers, this is one way that they could kind of tie together. I know we have Skype, I know we have WebEx, things like that. I can guarantee you in a Skype meeting, I'm the first one to check out and go do something else. So I kind of want to keep that momentum going. In my research, though, although there have been companies from around like 2003 to 2007, there was a big surge. So you had companies like IBM, you had companies like Cisco, and some others, which I'm actually now finding difficulty locating. But there are other companies who were using immersive environments like we are here for meetings. Although IBM, Cisco, Microsoft actually is in that list too, although they still have these environments available, I'm hearing that they're not using them at all. And the reason being is, maybe they're just overcomplicated. So it was kind of a fad, but I don't know that it's going away. So what I wanted to do, and here's where I could use your help if you can help me. My research has talked about why corporations avoid the use of virtual islands. One of the primary reasons was any corporation wants almost like a case study or a use case. So we call them use cases. And the whole use case option would be, show me where someone has used this, how it would work, what's the major benefit over doing it another way. And there is a lack of use cases. So although even meeting like this is definitely more exciting, more engaging than meeting through a WebEx or Skype, the problem is I can't tell you that it's any more exciting or engaging other than my telling you that's how I'm feeling. So there isn't a lot of literature out there on it. Folks haven't written it yet. So I guess if folks are looking for things that they want to do, maybe to be published, this is probably it from a corporation standpoint. But it's got to be tried and true. So with that
I have a suggestion for that if you're looking for it.
Sure.
So find a smaller company that's looking to do a lot of media outreach, and use the case study and let them publish as they're going along when they're working on it. So they could work with you directly, and then they would get the media advertising for the benefit of company outreach.
Perfect. I'm taking a note on that. Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you. So I am actually doing a presentation on Thursday, November 9th, to about 35 clients. We call them Customer Appreciation Days. So we have 35 clients coming to this presentation. They will be on my island. I'm going to have some guest speakers. So Dr. O'Connor will be a guest speaker. Jonna, I don't know if you folks have met Jonna in maybe other classes. She will also be a guest speaker as well. And Scott, someone else in another class, and he's actually doing a final project with me. We're in the final proposal stage. He will be there as a guest speaker too. He's actually using it for his company, so he would be a good person to talk to as well. And then I'm going to have folks kind of come into my world here and, you know, take a tour, try out some equipment. I don't know if you've looked around, but you can see two of them. I've added two here. Presto Magic slide readers. Dr. O'Connor has these. This is what we used for our PowerPoint presentations a few weeks ago. I have, you saw in my videos, I have teleport pads. I have whiteboards that work. I actually have computers that work, and they're in another conference room. And what I was wondering is, one, if folks certainly have ideas as to how organizations can use immersive environments, I'm going to talk about meetings. I'm going to talk about almost like a one-on-one, like almost conflict resolution, team building. Lindsay, I wanted to do that. I just don't think I can get what I wanted to do was almost like a scavenger hunt. But, you know, what on earth would I have these folks hunt for? And, you know, in a corporation, I'm all for playing games, but they almost have to be games with a purpose. So I'm not sure. I don't know what I'd have them hunt for and how I would have them do it. So, yes, I've thought about that. So if you have another way for team building, by all means, share. Okay, thank you, Dr. O'Connor. And then, but I also have the need, if